I'm Heather, and I'm 8 years older than my younger sister, Maitline. From the moment she entered the world, our parents made it clear that she was something special. Look at those beautiful green eyes, they would exclaim. Or, have you ever seen such perfect golden curls? Meanwhile, I stood quietly in the background with my plain brown hair and average features, watching them dote on her. I want to make it clear, though, I loved my sister. How could I not? She was this delicate, perfect little being who always needed attention and care. And since both of our parents worked long hours, guess who became her second mom? Yeah, me. Heather, sweetie, Mom would ask, can you help Maddie with her homework? You're so great at math. Or Heather, could you please pick your sister up from school? We're both stuck at work. I remember one night when I was 14 and Maitline was 6. I was trying to help her with her reading while finishing up my own mountain of homework. I don't want to read anymore, Maitline complained, shoving the book away. It's boring. Come on, Maddie, I encouraged, pulling the book back. Just 3 more pages, and then we can play that game you love. She pouted but picked the book back up. You're no fun, Heather. Sarah's big sister takes her to the park every day after school. Well, Sarah's big sister doesn't have to work at the library after school, I retorted, though it stung a little. I was juggling school, housework, and a part-time job at the library to help make ends meet. That was our life, Maitline being Maitline and me being whatever anyone needed me to be. By the time I turned 16, I was working 3 jobs, mornings at a cafe, afternoons at the library, and late nights doing online data entry. All of this was so we could pay for Maitline's dance lessons, private tutors, and her stylish clothes that made her the most popular girl in school. I kept convincing myself that it would get better, that one day Maitline would see and understand all that I did for her. That maybe, just maybe, our parents would look at me with the same pride they reserved for her. But looking back, I realized I was only telling myself what I needed to hear to keep pushing forward. When it was time to apply to college, I knew my options were slim, not because of my grades, I had good ones despite working 3 jobs, but because of finances. I had even been offered scholarships from out-of-state universities. You got accepted to Stanford. Mom had asked when the letter arrived, her eyes briefly lighting up before dimming. But sweetie, who's going to help Maddie with her college prep? And you know we can't afford that tuition. I stood there, clutching the acceptance letter, watching Mom get distracted by Maitline's latest art project on the fridge. I didn't mention the partial scholarship I had received. What was the point? So I enrolled at City College, kept my jobs, and continued being Maitline's personal support system. During my first year, I rushed from morning classes to work, then home to help Maitline with her homework. I would often stay up until 2 a.m. finishing my own assignments, only to wake up at 5 o'clock a.m. for my cafe shift. After graduation, I landed a good job at an accounting firm and moved into a small apartment. It wasn't much, a 1-bedroom with plumbing issues, but it was mine. I thought maybe things would finally be different. Maybe I could focus on my own life. But then came the phone call about Maitline's graduation dress. Heather, Mom said, her voice taking on a familiar pleading tone. You know how important this is to your sister. She has to look perfect for graduation. A bitter laugh almost escaped me as I recalled my own graduation dress. A $30 clearance special that turned out to be the same as what Jenny Thompson wore. I spent the whole night trying to avoid being in the same photos as her. How much does she want for the dress? I asked, already reaching for my credit card. Well, she found this gorgeous designer piece. It's only $800. I nearly choked on my coffee. $800? That was almost my rent for a month. But I heard myself say, okay, Mom, I'll transfer the money. Then came the real shock. Maitline had been accepted to Preston University, one of the most expensive private colleges in the state. Somehow, our parents had managed to save a large amount for her tuition. We've been saving since she was born, Dad explained proudly at a family dinner. Our little girl deserves the best education. I froze fork in midair as I remembered all the student loans I was still paying off, all the scholarships I had to turn down, and all the years I worked multiple jobs just to afford my public college tuition. They'd been saving for Maitline's future the whole time while But the requests didn't stop. Within weeks of Maitline starting at Preston, the asks kept coming. Heather, honey, Mom called one evening. Maddie needs help with her apartment rent just until she gets settled. Then textbooks. Then a new laptop because all the other students had MacBooks. Then a new iPhone because the one I bought her last year was too old. Money for food. Money for clothes. Every week brought a new emergency, a new expense, a new reason why Madeline needed my help. And through it all, not once did she say thank you. Not once did she recognize the sacrifices I made. I was just the family ATM, constantly providing whatever she wanted without a second thought. 3 years later, I sat at my kitchen table reviewing my budget when my phone rang. Mom's voice sounded strangely upbeat on the other end. "Heather, you need to come over right now. Maddie has big news." I rushed over to find Madeline practically bouncing off the walls, showing off a huge diamond ring. "I'm getting married," she squealed, "and I'm leaving college." The room went quiet for a moment before I found my voice. "You're what?" "Oh, don't be so shocked, Heather." Madeline rolled her eyes. "College is boring anyway. Jason makes a lot of money, and we're going to have the best wedding." I felt like I was underwater. All those years of work, all that money, my money gone. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to say something. But they just sat there, smiling at Madeline as though she had just won a Nobel Prize. "What about your degree?" I managed to ask. "We've all put so much into." "Oh my God, Heather, you're such a buzzkill." Madeline interrupted. "This is why you're still single. You're always so practical. Now let me tell you about my wedding plans." For the next hour, I sat there in a haze as Madeline excitedly talked about her dream wedding. Perfect venue, flowers, dress, everything had to be perfect, which of course meant expensive. Then came the bombshell. "Honey," Dad said, clearing his throat, "we've taken out a loan, but it's not quite enough. Since you're part of the family, we need you to contribute." Mom finished, "It's your sister's special day." I couldn't believe what I was hearing as I asked, "How much?" $20,000 should cover your share," Madeline said casually, as if she were asking for spare change. I still don't fully understand why I agreed. Maybe it was out of habit, or because of the way Mom's eyes welled up, or perhaps it was simply easier than confronting them. But I did agree. The money was taken from my account the following day. But that wasn't the end. "Actually, sweetie," Mom said at dinner, "we were thinking maybe you could also take out a small loan to cover the extra costs." That was the moment when something inside me broke. "No," I said firmly. "No way. I'm saving for a mortgage. I have to focus on my own future." "Since when did you become so selfish?" Madeline snapped, her perfect face contorting with anger. I held my ground, even though my hands were shaking under the table. "I've already given you $20,000, Maddie. That's it. I can't do any more." The silence that followed was deafening. Then, in her familiar, rehearsed tone, Mom spoke. "Well, if you won't contribute any more money, at least help us with the arrangements." I nodded, the weight of responsibility pressing down on me once again. But something had shifted. For the first time, I had said no. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. The following weeks were a nightmare. My phone constantly buzzed with messages from Madeline, each one demanding more money. "Heather, I found the perfect flowers. Only $3,000, but I need the money by tomorrow or they'll sell them to another bride." "Oh my God, this band is amazing. They played at Chelsea's wedding. They're asking for $5,000. Can you transfer the money tonight? The venue I want is available, but we need to pay a deposit today. It's $88,000. You'll take care of that, right?" To make ends meet, I took a second job as a virtual assistant, working nights and weekends. My days blurred into exhaustion, spreadsheets at my accounting job, wedding planning during lunch breaks, if I even had one, and late nights in front of the computer. One day, Jenny, a coworker, stopped me in the break room. "Heather, are you okay? You don't look yourself." I glanced at my reflection in the window. Dark circles under my eyes, clothes that hung loosely on me from losing weight, and my hair pulled back messily because I couldn't remember the last time I had time for a haircut. "I'm fine," I said, barely able to keep my eyes open. "Just a little busy with my sister's wedding." That night, I collapsed into bed at 1:00 a.m., my eyes burning. Just as I was about to drift off, my phone buzzed. "Found the most amazing ice sculpture for the reception. It's only $2,500. Need the money by morning or they'll sell it to someone else." I turned my phone off and buried my face in the pillow, trying to hold back tears. I had already paid for the venue, catering, flowers, and the band. How much more could they possibly need? A week later, Mom called. Honey, we need to have a serious talk. Can you come over tonight? I dragged myself over after work, already bracing myself for whatever they wanted next. My savings were gone, my credit card was maxed out, and the only thing keeping me going was the hope that it would soon be over. When I arrived, I found Maitline lounging on the couch with travel magazines, while Mom and Dad flipped through a catalog nearby. Oh, this resort is perfect, Maitline gushed, pointing to a page. Look at these overwater bungalows. They have private butlers for every suite. I stood in the doorway, my stomach sinking as I realized what was coming. What exactly am I doing here? I asked, my voice trembling. Why did you need me to come over? Maitline looked up, giving me that sweet, manipulative smile. We're just picking out your wedding gift to us. I blinked. My what? Your wedding gift, she repeated as if it was the most obvious thing. I've decided that you're going to pay for our honeymoon in the Maldives. The room spun. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. Are you out of your mind? After everything I've already paid for. Oh, Heather, Mom said dismissively. Don't be so dramatic. Dramatic? My voice cracked. I've already spent every penny I have on this wedding. Well, it's not like you have anything else to spend it on, Maitline said casually. And it's only $224,000. That was it. 29 years of being the dutiful daughter, the supportive sister, the personal ATM. It all shattered in that moment. Only $224,000? I shouted. Only. Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed for this wedding? Any idea at all? Heather, lower your voice, Dad warned. No, I will not lower my voice. I'm done with this. I've had enough. My voice shook with years of pent-up frustration. You're nothing but a spoiled, arrogant brat, Maitline. I'm done dealing with your endless demands. I have my own life to think about. Maitline's face twisted in disgust. Your own life? What life? You're 29, an old maid. Have you looked in the mirror? No wonder you're still single. You look terrible. What man would want you? The words stung, but I refused to back down. I look terrible because I've been working 2 jobs, 6 days a week to pay for your wedding. I haven't had a full night's sleep in months thanks to your constant demands. You're just jealous, Maitline hissed. Jealous because I'm getting married and you'll die alone. Jealous because I'm beautiful and successful, and you're just you. That was the breaking point. Successful? You drop out of the college I helped pay for. Beautiful? Your soul is as ugly as they come. You've never worked a day in your life. You've never thanked me for any of it. You think the world owes you everything, but I'm done. I'm done with your entitled little world. I stormed out, Maitline's voice echoing behind me. You're nothing but a bitter, jealous witch. No wonder no one will ever marry you. Mom and Dad joined in with their insults, but for the first time in my life, I didn't turn around. I didn't apologize. I didn't back down. By the time I got home, my phone was blowing up with messages. Mom had sent at least 30 angry texts. How dare you talk to your sister like that? After all we've done for you? You're a selfish, ungrateful daughter. I stared at the messages until they blurred, and then I did something I had never done before. Something terrifying and liberating. I opened my laptop and began typing emails. To the venue. Please cancel the reservation and refund my payment. To the florist. Cancel the wedding arrangements. To the catering company, I'm withdrawing my booking. To the band, I need to cancel the booking. One by one, I unwound everything I had done for Maitline's wedding. My hands trembled, but my mind remained clear. The wedding was just 2 weeks away, but I no longer cared. Each cancellation felt like a burden being lifted. Then, the chaos started. My phone was nonstop. When I blocked Mom's number, she called from Dad's phone, and when I blocked that, she used their landline. Messages poured in from everywhere. Email, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. I blocked every account. Heather, you need to call Aunt Susan. Why are you ignoring Uncle Jim? Your cousin Rachel is devastated. How could you hurt your sister like this? Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, distant family friends, even my future in-laws, all weighed in. I eventually gave up on answering altogether. Then they showed up in person. I was trying to rest when I heard shouting from below my window. Heather, get down here now. Mom's voice was sharp with anger. You better fix this, you selfish witch. That was Maitline. They stood outside for hours, switching between furious demands and tearful pleas. I turned the TV volume higher to block them out. The next morning, I spoke to George, the concierge. Please don't let them in, I asked. I don't care what they say. I don't want them here. George, who had seen their behavior, nodded. Don't worry, Miss Robertson. I'll handle it. A week later, Kelly called. Have you heard? She asked cautiously. Your parents had to take out another loan for everything you canceled. The vendors wouldn't do it on such short notice without charging more. They ended up paying nearly double. I sat in silence. A part of me felt guilty, the part taught to care for everyone else. But a stronger part, the one that had finally found its voice, knew I'd done the right thing. A month later, while scrolling through Instagram, I saw it, the wedding photos. I hadn't meant to look, but a mutual friend had liked them, and there they were. The extravagant wedding Maitline had wanted had turned into something entirely different. Instead of a 5-star venue, they used our parents' backyard. The $3,000 flower arrangements were swapped for simple bouquets from a grocery store. The expensive band was replaced by a laptop and speakers on a folding table. Maitline looked stunning in her dream dress. But something about her smile seemed forced, her eyes tight with disappointment. No honeymoon followed. Maitline's dream had faded along with her grand plans. I closed Instagram and tried to move forward. For the first time in years, I focused on myself, getting restful sleep, eating properly, and gradually rediscovering who I was. 3 months after the wedding, Dad called. Heather, his voice sounded weary, aged. We need to talk. Can you come over? Something in his tone made me agree. When I arrived, it felt different. Mom and Dad sat on the couch, looking defeated. Dad spoke first. Mattline's getting a divorce. The words hit me like a blow. She and Jason. Mom's voice trembled. They'd been fighting since the wedding. He's furious about how cheap everything was, how embarrassing it was that they couldn't even have a proper band. He's furious about the canceled honeymoon. Here's the thing, Dad continued, we took up 2 loans for that wedding. Even the scaled-down version. We're in deep, Heather. I could sense where this was going. We were hoping, Mom started. No, I replied, my voice quiet but resolute. But Heather, we're your parents, he said. You're the one who never saved for yourself, the one who worked 3 jobs to get through college, the one who drained her savings for a wedding that shouldn't have happened in the first place. They fell silent. We realize now that we were partly wrong, Dad said cautiously. I stood up. Partly wrong? You've been wrong about everything, about me, about Maitline, about money, about life. Maybe one day you'll see how wrong you've been. But until then, good luck with those loans. As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of my parents in the rearview mirror, standing in the doorway, looking small. For the first time, I didn't turn back. Life has a funny way of revealing people's true colors. 6 months after Maitline's divorce, I was having coffee with Kelly when she paused. Have you heard about Maitline? She asked. I shook my head. I've been keeping my distance after the conversation with my parents. She moved back in with your parents, Kelly said. She's not working, says she's too traumatized by the divorce. But she's dating someone new every week, from what I hear. And your parents? I interrupted. They're paying for everything, her car, her clothes, her nights out, even after the wedding loans. I wasn't surprised. Some patterns never change. Weeks passed, and I quit my second job, finally able to focus on my career. I started taking better care of myself, joining a yoga class, getting regular haircuts, buying clothes that weren't just for work. People noticed the change. Then the unexpected call came. It was Mom, her voice small and unfamiliar. Heather, I need to apologize. I braced myself. Maitline, she met someone. A rich businessman. Mom's voice cracked. She left with him yesterday. We don't know where. But before she left, she maxed out all her credit cards, every single one. Silence hung in the air. Mom, I began, but she interrupted. No, please let me finish. Your father and I are deep in debt now, but we're not asking for money. We'll figure it out. We should have done that long ago. I just want to say I'm sorry for everything. It wasn't perfect, and it didn't erase the years of manipulation, but it was something. I don't know where Maitline is now. Sometimes I see traces of her on social media, a tagged photo, a check-in, but she's like a shadow, drifting from place to place, person to person. My parents and I exchange brief messages on holidays, superficial, but it's all I can manage. Here's what I've learned about breaking free from toxic patterns. Life fills those empty spaces with something better. 3 months ago, I met James at a bookstore cafe. He was reading my favorite novel, and we struck up a conversation. He's kind, successful, and most importantly, he truly sees me. Last night, I came across an old photo of Maitline and me as kids. She was 5, I was 13, and we were both smiling, unaware of the future ahead. I thought about keeping it, but instead, I placed it back in the box. Some memories are better left behind. As I sit in my favorite cafe, James across from me, smiling as he works, I realize something profound. Sometimes the happy ending isn't about getting everything you thought you wanted. Sometimes it's about letting go of what's been holding you back. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Stay stunned.